So this afternoon I'm going to have a quick play with my Kumquat Nagami. I actually bought this for the garden, and when it got here it was so stunted and small, but for bonsaiing it's actually got quite good form. It's got one big branch that's shot up the back, but the trick to this is in the tapering. It's always about the tapering. So in here you can see the thickness of the stem, and you can see, get that leaf off. You can see, actually just zoom in, you can see in this area here I've got to taper this down to that. So what I've got to do is I've got to get in and cut that down. Now when I cut it, I've got to allow for the cambium layer healing, so that sort of puts a growth over the top. So when I cut it, I've got to use these. I don't know if you can see the curve there, but that will cut in down. So when the cambium layer heals over, it'll be dead smooth. So the transition from there to there should be smooth. That's the theory. Now, it's actually a graft being a kumquat, so you've got to be a little bit careful. So I'm going to take a chunk out of that, and I've got to sort of work it down. So I do have to be very careful. Pretty robust plant. The rootstock on these is incredibly tough. That's why they graft them on to a root stock. But you can see that's sort of got a reasonable taper. It's not perfect. It's not how I ultimately want it to be. But I will work at that off camera probably. And so what I'm going to do, sticking with this taper, zoom out, sticking with this taper methodology, you know, this branch here, if I rotate it around, and this will be the back of the plant. I clearly don't want to have that at the front unless it heals up and gives me something quite interesting, we'll see. But to stick with the taper methodology, you know, I'll probably take that out there. In fact, I'll do that now, and you'll see straight away that it improves the form of the plant. So if I turn that around, already it's got better form. You know, this is too long. This needs to come down. So I'll just quickly take that down. So already you can see that's got better form. Now I need to clear this and I need to do some wiring. But what I love especially about this plant is the height of the rootstock to where it's grafted and the plant. But the fact that it fruits, and already I've had, well, you can see the fruit here, and you can see the smaller fruit here. So this is the first flush, this is the second flush, and now you can probably hardly see it, but if you zoom in you probably can. Right there.
Oh, that's gone.
And zoom. And so you can see the cut there. So originally I cut it out, it went to about here, and then I've had to cut it out using my flat cutters. They get a flat face as opposed to these which have got a curved face. So I've taken that out, and then I had to trim it up with a scalpel. So it's not as concave as I'd like, and I may have to use a Dremel with a grinder, but I'll let the healing start around the side and we'll just see how that looks, because if this hardens up I can always get a Dremel and grind it in, so this ends up being dead smooth. So you can see that taper. Now this stem is going to thicken up to meet that, so that should taper down quite nicely. Now one of the problems I'm having at the moment is picking a front. Just zoom out. And so I'm thinking that should be the front. I will probably wire this down. Now these plants aren't that flexible in the stem, so you'd be very, very careful. You know, the ficus, I could literally bend that at 90 degrees and it's pretty forgiving. So I've got to be a little bit careful there, but I think what I'll do is I'll taper it down. I'm going to take all that fruit out. I could let that fruit ripen, but that's going to take energy from growth, so I want to get cracking. Now you'll notice where I've cut it really close, and again that's going to help to heal up, smooth over, and you're not going to really see the cut because it's on this branch here. And there's a little fruit all there. There's so much fruit on this thing. So you know, some of these should come out, and I'll take those out now. Now at the back originally, I'm not sure if you can see, but I cut it to there. Now looking at it and the perspective of everything, that will need to come down, and again I'm picking a new leader, nice and closeable. So that's going to do for now. Some of these other ones need to be shortened, but I'm just going to leave it to the wound to heal and to form up. One of the things that I haven't done yet with this citrus is to repot it. Citrus are always in very tall pots, bags quite often if you buy them from the nursery, and they need a deeper root system. So I do have a pot like this. Is that in film? Yeah. And so I'm going to put it into one of those. I want to keep that depth. So I'll do that on another video. That's Peter Butler, the hobbyist, with another hobby.